In the autumn of 1609, the Half Moon, a Dutch ship led by English explorer Henry Hudson, glided into the mouth of a river that would one day bear his name. But Hudson wasn't entering an empty wilderness. This was Mannahatta, the island of many hills, home to the Lenape people for thousands of years. By 1624, the Dutch West India Company saw opportunity. They established a small fur trading post, naming it New Amsterdam, a rough, muddy settlement at the edge of a new world. In 1626, Peter Minuit famously purchased the entire island for 60 guilders worth of trade goods. It's often called a bargain, but for the Dutch, it was the start of a global empire. Life was chaotic. New Amsterdam was a frontier town of soldiers, traders, and sailors from all over the globe, speaking 18 different languages within its first few years. Then came the Old Silver Nails, Peter Stuyvesant. A man of strict rules and a short temper, he arrived in 1647 to bring order to the rowdy settlement. To protect the city from English and Native American threats, Stuyvesant built a massive wooden wall. Today, that barrier's legacy lives on in the name of a global financial icon, Wall Street. But the Dutch dream was short-lived. In 1664, 4 English warships arrived in the harbor, demanding a total surrender. New Amsterdam was vastly outnumbered. Stuyvesant wanted to fight, but the citizens refused. Without a shot fired, the city was handed over to the English and renamed in honor of the Duke of York. The Dutch era was over, but the seeds of a global metropolis were sown. Join us in the next chapter as we witness New York's transformation during the American Revolution. By the 1760s, the muddy streets of New York were simmering with rebellion. In 1765, the Stamp Act Congress met here, marking the first time the colonies truly united against British rule. When war finally erupted, George Washington knew New York was the ultimate prize. If he lost the city, he might lose the war. But in 1776, the British arrived with the largest invasion fleet in history. After a crushing defeat in Brooklyn, Washington orchestrated a miracle. Under the cover of a thick, mysterious fog, he evacuated his entire army across the East River, right under the noses of the British. The city fell. For the next 7 years, New York became a British stronghold, a crowded, hungry, and dangerous place where thousands of American prisoners perished on rotting prison ships. Days after the British moved in, a massive fire consumed nearly a quarter of the city. To this day, no one knows if it was an accident or a final act of colonial defiance. Even under occupation, New York was a battlefield of secrets. Washington's famous Culper spy ring operated in the shadows, funneling critical intelligence out of the city and into his hands. Finally, in 1783, the British sailed away forever. Evacuation Day became a holiday as Washington returned to a liberated but scarred New York. For 5 short, glorious years, New York was the capital of the new United States. It was here, on Wall Street, that the American experiment truly began. The war was won, but New York's biggest transformation was still to come. A new century would bring a revolution of a different kind, commerce. Join us in Chapter 3 as we witness the building of the Erie Canal and the rise of the world's greatest port. Subscribe to see the full documentary. As the 19th century dawned, New York was no longer just a city, it was a machine of commerce. But it was landlocked, separated from the vast resources of the American interior. In 1825, the impossible happened. The opening of the Erie Canal connected the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes, funneling the wealth of a continent directly into New York Harbor. With wealth came people. Millions of immigrants from Ireland, Germany, and Italy poured through the city's gates, turning Lower Manhattan into the most densely populated place on Earth. As the city choked on its own growth, visionaries like Frederick Law Olmsted carved a massive green sanctuary out of the mud, Central Park, designed to be the lungs of the metropolis. In 1883, the impossible was achieved again. The Brooklyn Bridge linked 2 great cities with steel and stone, a feat of engineering that symbolized New York's rising global ambition. This was the Gilded Age. While the tenements of the 5 Points suffered, the mansions of the Vanderbilts and Astors rose uptown, fueled by the booming stock market. But New York was still divided. On New Year's Day, 1898, the city finally consolidated. Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island became one, the modern city of New York. The 19th century ended with a city that had grown too big for the earth. To survive, it had only one place left to go, up. In our next chapter, we enter the Roaring Twenties to discover the horse racing secret that gave the city its most famous name. The Empire City had arrived. Join us as we uncover the secrets of the 20th century. Subscribe and don't miss a single moment of history. The 20th century began with a movement that would change New York's soul, millions of Black Americans fled the Jim Crow South, bringing their music, art, and ambition to the streets of Harlem. This was the Harlem Renaissance. In clubs like the Cotton Club and the Savoy, jazz became the heartbeat of the city, a sound that would soon echo across the entire world. But in the 1920s, another world was just as electric, the racetracks. In New Orleans, stable hands whispered about the Big Apple, the ultimate prize waiting at the tracks of New York. Sports writer John J. Fitzgerald heard them. He loved the phrase so much he titled his column Around the Big Apple, turning a racetrack slang into a symbol of New York's unmatched opportunity. Jazz musicians soon picked it up. To them, there were many apples on the tree, but when you played New York, you were playing the Big Apple, the top of the ladder. As the nickname grew, so did the skyline. The 1920s saw a frantic race to the clouds as the Chrysler and Empire State Buildings fought to be the tallest on Earth. Times Square became the Great White Way, a sea of light and glamour that defined the Roaring '20s and cemented New York as the capital of modern entertainment. But the party couldn't last forever. In October 1929, the market collapsed. The Roaring '20s ended in a deafening crash, leaving the Big Apple facing its darkest winter yet. New York had risen to heights no city had ever seen. Now, it would have to find a way to survive the greatest economic disaster in history. The legend of the Big Apple was born in the light, but it would be tested in the shadows. Subscribe to follow the journey through the 20th century. The 1930s brought the Big Apple to its knees. 1 in 3 New Yorkers was out of work, and the gleaming skyscrapers now cast shadows over miles of breadlines and Hoovervilles. But World War brought a new purpose. New York transformed into the arsenal of democracy, with its Brooklyn Navy Yard and factories running 24 hours a day to fuel the Allied victory. In the 1950s, New York became the capital of the world. With the UN building rising on the East River, the city was the undisputed center of global diplomacy and mid-century glamour. But by the 1970s, the dream was fading. Crime soared, the city faced bankruptcy, and the Big Apple was seen as a dangerous, decaying relic of a bygone era. Desperate to save the city, tourism chief Charles Gillett dug into history. He revived the 1920s nickname, launching a massive campaign to turn the rotting apple back into a symbol of hope. Alongside the apple came a logo that would become the most famous in history. "I love New York" wasn't just an ad, it was a declaration of love for a city that refused to die. New York also became the front line for social revolution. From the Stonewall Inn to the streets of Harlem, the city was where the marginalized fought for their place in the American story. New York had survived its darkest decades by doing what it does best, reinventing itself. It emerged from the crisis stronger, taller, and more iconic than ever before. In our final chapter, we witness the city's rise as a global financial titan and its enduring legacy in the 21st century. Subscribe to see the conclusion. This was Chapter 5. If you've enjoyed this journey through 400 years of history, subscribe now and join us for the final chapter of the Big Apple. As the 1980s dawned, the rotting apple was a memory. Wall Street became the engine of a global economic revolution, turning New York into the undisputed financial capital of the world. The city grew taller and sleeker, from the neon lights of a reborn Times Square to the high-tech corridors of Silicon Alley. New York was where the 21st century was being built. But on a clear Tuesday morning in September 2001, the city faced its greatest tragedy. The world watched in horror, but New York responded with a strength that defined a generation. From the ruins of Ground Zero, a new symbol of resilience rose. One World Trade Center didn't just reclaim the skyline, it signaled to the world that New York would never be broken. Today, the Big Apple is a global mosaic. Over 800 languages are spoken here, making it the most diverse and culturally rich city in human history. As the headquarters of the United Nations and a titan of tech, media, and art, New York remains the place where the world's most important conversations happen. From a tiny Dutch trading post to the Big Apple of our dreams, New York's 400-year journey is a testament to the power of human ambition and the spirit of reinvention. There are many apples on the tree, but there is only one Big Apple. This is the city that never sleeps, the city that invented itself, and the city that belongs to us all. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. If you've enjoyed this series, please like, share, and subscribe to help us tell the stories of more great cities. What city should we explore next? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe now and don't miss our next historical deep dive.